Fruit, structure, and functions. We have learned in the previous topic that ovary develops into a fruit and ovule develops into a seed. If we are going to cut an ovary cross-sectionally, this is how it would look like. And these are its parts. This is the ovule that eventually would become a seed. The space here, is what we call as the locule or the chamber. This is the ovary wall, or also called as the pericarp. Placenta is where the ovules are attached, and funiculus is the stalk of a plant ovule. There are many fruits in the plant kingdom that are commonly mistaken as a vegetable. Is a fruit really a vegetable, or is a vegetable really a fruit? Botanically speaking, a fruit is a mature or ripened ovary whose main function is to hold and protect seeds until they mature. It also helps in the dissemination or dispersal of the seeds. It is only found in angiosperms and is very important in plant classification. In some cases, other floral parts form the fruit. The apple, for instance, is largely derived from the torus or the receptacle. The fruit may contain one or more seeds. However, some fruits are formed without seeds because of the absence of fertilization. These fruits are called parthenocarpic fruits, such as seedless grapes and oranges. Most of a mature fruit has three regions. The outermost layer is called the exocarp, while the innermost layer around the seed is what we call as endocarp. The mesocarp is the tissue between exo and endocarp that is often fleshy. Collectively, the exocarp, mesocarp, and endocarp are called pericarp. In order for us to classify fruits, we have to know the following: the number of flowers, the number of pistils or ovary, the nature of the mature pericarp and its layers, the manner of dehiscence, and the role of other floral parts. The role of other floral parts determines whether a fruit is a true or false fruit. We have here an example. A grape, which is considered as a true fruit, or eucarp, develops from the mature, ripened ovary, whereas the bulk of the apple, which is a false fruit, or pseudocarp, develops from torus or hypanthium. Composition or number of flowers involved in their formation. A simple fruit is a fruit that develops from one ovary of a single flower. It could either be fleshy if it's soft and juicy, and dry if its pericarp is dry at maturity. Examples are apples, pears, tomatoes, peaches, and cherries. Here are some types of simple fleshy fruits: berry or bacate, drupe, pepo, hesperidium, and pome. If the whole pericarp of a fruit is fleshy and seeds are usually embedded in the pulp, then it is considered as berry or bacate. If a fruit has a hard and stony endocarp and more or less soft exocarp and mesocarp, then it is called drupe. Hesperidium is actually the characteristic of the citrus family. It is actually a type of berry. However, it has a thick, leathery rind, which is the exo and mesocarp, supplied with oil glands, and with the endocarp possessing vesicular juice-filled outgrowths known as pulp sacs, filling up the wedge-shaped locules or chambers. I'm not sure if you have noticed, but every time you touch the thick, leathery rind of a citrus fruit, it actually feels so oily. So it is because of these pits that contain oil gland. So this is the pulp, which is the fluid-filled sac. If the fleshy portion of a fruit is made up of either the much thickened calyx or the hypanthium, then it is called pome. So, good examples are those false fruits or pseudocarps. So, here are the several types of simple dry dehiscent fruits. So, when you say dehiscent or dehiscence, that refers to splitting of the pericarp at maturity. So we have here the follicle, legume or pod, the capsule, silic, and schizocarp. So if the single carpel of a fruit splits along one ventral seam, then it is called a follicle. However, if it splits along two seams, dorsal and ventral, then it is called legume. So we have here example, peanut. Peanut is not a nut, it is actually a legume. If it splits along two or more seams in a variety of ways, then it is called capsule. A very good example is the okra. So we have here different methods of dehiscence in capsule. We have septicidal, loculicidal, circumscissile, and poricidal. Septicidal, as in septa, septum. So we call it septicidal if it splits along septa. This one. We call it loculicidal if it split along the locules or the chambers. It is called circumscissile if it opens by a lid. So this is the lid. And poricidal if it opens by small pores. If a fruit came from an ovary of two carpels, which at maturity splits into three portions with a central persistent portion containing the seeds attached to it, then it is called silic. So as you can see, these are one, two, three portions of the fruit with a central portion containing the seeds. Next is the schizocarp. So a fruit is considered as a schizocarp if it is derived from two carpels that split at maturity along the midline into two one-seeded mericarp. So this is what we call as the mericarp that contains the seed. So this is actually an example of a plant called sweet fennel, which is actually an umbel. So if you could still remember how an umbel looks like, so this is the flower of the sweet fennel and this is its dry fruit. These are the mericarps. Here are the different types of simple dry indehiscent fruits. So when you say indehiscent or indehiscence, that is when the pericarp does not split at maturity. We have here the akin, the utricle, the grain or caryopsis, samara, and the knot. Okay, so let's start with the akin. So akin is a one-seeded fruit with a pericarp closely oppressed with a seed coat. When you say oppressed, that means it is pressed closely to the seed coat or it's lying against the seed coat. So we have here examples, the sunflower seeds and strawberries. So next is the utricle. So an example of utricle is the wolfia. If you could still remember, wolfia is the smallest flowering plant by far. So a utricle is similar to an akin, but its pericarp is loose and is bladder-like in appearance. So if the pericarp is fused with a seed coat of the single seed, it is then called grain or caryopsis. Remember the first two, the first one, the akin, just pressed, so lying against the seed coat. The next, medyo loose, and this time fused or united. Samara is similar to an akin except that the pericarp wall extends into a thin, papery wing. Nut is a one-seeded fruit with a hard or stony pericarp that is sometimes with involucral cup. Examples are chestnuts, hazelnuts, acorns, and beech nuts. So those we thought are nuts are really not a nut. These are the peanuts because they are actually legume, Brazil nuts, seeds of a capsule, almonds, pistachios, cashews, walnuts, and pecans are simply seeds of drupes. And coconut is not a nut, it is a drupe. So those fruits that are formed from multiple ovaries in one flower are called the aggregate fruits. So again, we have here the strawberry as an example. So actually, a strawberry is also a false fruit because the fleshy pulp is derived from the receptacle of the flower. However, it is also considered as an aggregate fruit because it consists of numerous small achenes. A fruit is considered as collective or multiple if it is derived from several ovaries of several flowers or from the ovaries of a compact inflorescence. So we have jackfruit as an example, and also the marang, pineapple, mulberry, and breadfruit. And that's all for the fruits. Thank you for listening.